Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager 23, episode 53. Our first driver development update since starting the new season. The first one for Gota. +2 on cornering for him, now in 84. Very strong stat there. Obviously, we are really hurting in a couple other ways, though. But also +1 in cornering for Florsch. That's going to help her pace. That's very good. That was her weak stat, that and her reactions, and that's where our focus is now. Season's just starting. They've had just a single race weekend that just concluded, so it is going to be this next month where we're going to start to see them kind of get back to the pace they were. But meanwhile, Tanaka's had another good one. +1 to cornering also for her, and then +2 to reactions. And that actually now gives her equal to best on the team. We have a 62 reaction, a 62 reaction for Gota, and a 54 for Florsch. So we know what her strong stat is now, besides braking. Pit crew training continues to go exceptionally well. We're able to get +1s to get everything 80 plus in the pit crew attributes area and get us, covered off back to where we were or better already. Less risk, 7% that we're down to on the chance of risk. But also just starting to eke down the estimated pit stop time a little bit more at a 2:44 by the end of the month. Bernard's picked up another point in training, now perfect 100 out of 100, and that processes was the big one that ticked over to 90, making a huge difference for us. We're going to continue training processes, but now instead of that and training, which she can't progress in, we're now switching to training aptitude and processes, where aptitude is that maximum pit crew attribute. It can't go beyond 86 because that's all she has. But now with those two progressing, we'll continue to train better and raise that max. And as a result of the extra point, she's up to an 86 overall. At the same time, Tanaka has improved to a 56 overall. Our technical chief, Romano, who's at an 85, is now the 6th best overall. At 35 years of age, I doubt anything is going to happen. We should be able to keep her around for the extent of the series. However, for now we have her on a 3-year contract, and if anything ever does happen to her, Helga Schubert, depends on where she's from, I guess. Helga Schubert is the backup, as there is another female in the pool for technical chiefs. For head of aerodynamics, Gladys Carter comes in 9th best at an 82. She was definitely well below that before. She is into the last year of her contract. We'll have to get her renewed here shortly. Carter's only 36, and there's a backup that's much closer in ability in a 73 overall in Koskinen, with more than a half dozen engineers at 90 plus. Having two both below 50 very much hurts. I'm only just starting the scouting, but the very bottom two of the pool of race engineers, the first two females that showed up after all these years, Palumbo's only a 44 even after multiple upgrades. Ava Moore just signed with us. We had the deal set months ago. She's a 49 overall. But already there's now two new race engineers in the pool, both hired at the F3 level. Kelly Hitchin at a 54 is not a huge upgrade over Ava Moore, and we might not necessarily bring her in, but Inger Thorderson as a 56 overall is a massive upgrade upon Palumbo. That's a +12 gap between the pair. I'll wait for the scouting to conclude, but it looks like we might at least have a minor upgrade in the race engineer department. It's amazing that as good as Anna Bernard is, and she's definitely progressed, she's still only 9th in the sporting director side, and she's 10 points behind the top trio, who are extremely good. That's definitely surprising. That's a pretty big gap to cover. But again, she has a 100 and a 90 in the two that matter most. And that's what's helping set us up to avoid mistakes and to speed things up in terms of, improvement.
We're here in Jeddah, where the tension is boiling as we head into the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. The circuit at Jeddah, spread along streets that run next to the Red Sea, is one of Formula One's highest speed tracks. It's a test of skill from start to finish, with cars just millimeters from the walls. Jeddah Corniche circuit is hot and high-powered, demanding speed for the straights and a high grip level through corners that are tight to the barriers. Starting tyre choices will be crucial here, with teams ever mindful of opportunities that a safety car could give.
Florsch is still struggling with qualifying so far this season, qualifying last, even if only just. Gota has made Q3 for the first time this season at least. Not putting in the greatest of times here. Pretty consistent, about a 126.3 is our average running. More than half a second off the pace of Verstappen. Red Bull back on top. But where's the second Red Bull? Sainz didn't even make Q3. Tsunoda in the McLaren qualifies P2. A little all over the place. Piastri and a Haas. Zhou Guan Yu in the Alfa Romeo. Surprised by this order. Really surprised by this order. Is this people still coming to grips with their cars? Could be. Hard to say. Could be a tough race. The big thing that I picked up on from that first race was that Gota is not going to go through the pack very well. He needs to be competitive, stay in position, and undercut, be out in front, and hold other drivers off. He's a better defender than he is an attacker. So going with sauce is going to be probably a regular theme for us with Gota this season, starting on the softs, kind of regardless of position, unless he's really bad at the back and then you want to push late. But even then, that's not looking like a good strategy that would work out for him very well. Florsch can handle that. She's not great at overtaking, but she's not like Gota. She's better at it.
The drivers are lined up on the grid here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, preparing for 50 flat-out laps under the lights. Zhou Guan Yu will know exactly what's expected of him in this race.
They've done really well to secure a P7 start. Some solid points could be on the cards today.
But there's no more time left. We've got a race on our hands. It's almost time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Second race of the year. Gota already right off the start has lost a position, went deep to the inside and almost came into the Mercedes there as he rejoined the racing line. Luckily they saved some room for him. Florsch is already last. We're going to settle in early for her to not waste anything. Gota would really like to get that P10 here, be ahead of the Mercedes. They're on the mediums, and we do. We settle into P10. Now we know that Gota is not good on tires, so we're going to back off on the tires a little bit earlier, but keep the fuel. I want to be light anyway. I want to have that extra pace so we can keep up. We've got the softs to help with that, but we've got to be light to help with that. I'd rather have to lift a coast late while we're just trying to hold off others. It's not easy to overtake here. It's really not easy to overtake here. That's to our benefit. If we can undercut and maybe move forward that way and end up, say, P8 or something, that would be a great day. Ahead of us, potential undercuts? No. Actually, there's none of them, except for Piastri, who's already down 10% in the Haas. Do not have any softs left. Probably didn't plan on making Q3 and didn't save the tires. Could be the case. That's going to put them in a bad way. They could go backwards, or they'll have to pit early. And as this is a one-stop type track, you really don't want to put yourself in too much harm. But there we go. That's both drivers ready to settle in. It's a little bit of a gap there with Ocon. Just over a second. Might be out of DRS range. Be nice if that opens up behind us and we pull away. That would help us score points today. So I'm not convinced that we are in a position to do that just yet. Though, certainly compared to the last race, we are showing some signs of competitiveness this time around. At just 50 laps, this race is going to go pretty quickly. We are recovering fuel already, and the gap is there behind us. It's a couple seconds. We just want to see that grow more and more. Meanwhile, Flourish, her gap's growing. I didn't push her early. I was hoping she'd have enough pace to keep up, and she really doesn't. She's on the mediums. That's not helping, but the back three, Albin, Geo, Flourish, are all well off pace. Russell, there's your out of position guy. Russell, fantastic driver and a very good Ferrari, has made his way forward. He's already up to P9, but that's dropped Gotha down to P11, and he brought the other cars up with that were in that train, and Gotha now goes backwards, falling to P13. So other than the potential undercut, Gotha is now in real trouble of being out of the points today, going backwards real fast thanks to George Russell, dragging a huge slew of cars. Gotha's down to 17th. Can't even defend. We're on softs. We're light. There's no reason for Gotha to be that slow and get past that easily. Gotha's at least supposed to be okay defending. The Gotha experiment may not last long. At this rate, Gotha getting past that easy and unable to pass anyone else, we might have to not obviously Sargent's not available, but Sargent's an 85. Gotha's a 76, is it? We might need somebody who's 78, 79, somewhere a little bit in between. And if Gotha really is this bad, I'll have no qualms. I'll have no problem letting Gotha go. It's only race number 2, though. Give him a little time to settle in. He and his engineer are definitely not accustomed to one another just yet. Here's that other big problem with Gotha, besides being unable to pass other cars, is that smoothness is so bad. You can see we are definitely not on the prescribed plan in terms of tire wear. We're going to have the same problem with the mediums till the end of the race, but as we're down to 30%, it's time. Diving off into the pits is Gotha. Flourish on a different strategy with the mediums to softs, so she'll be pitting later on. Gotha in, out, problem. Come on. 7% chance. 7%. And the pit crew's already made their first mistake of the season. 2 years ago, we had 2 mistakes the whole year. Last year, we had 4? Second race of the year, we've already had a mistake. And definitely not helping our chances of doing anything today as Gotha comes out last place, 4 seconds behind Flourish. Clean air. But just a very uninspired drive so far from Gotha in 2 races. Gotha has caught Flourish and is passing her easily, so apparently he does know how to overtake. There was no directions. There was no don't fight your teammate, let them pass, nothing like that. Gotha went right on by. So he does know how to overtake, at least when there's a significant pace difference between the two. Flourish at 47% on her mediums, and slower to begin with, pace-wise. Safety car is deployed. Safety car is deployed, and Flourish is going to get her pit in right now before the safety car has a chance to come out. This is a big opportunity for us, potentially, with cars out of the race and the field bunching up. The Aston Martin getting into the back of the Alpine. It's probably bad enough to take both out of the race, and it does. Gotha, meanwhile, 80% use mediums. We already know that Flourish is pitting. Let's go ahead and we don't have another set of softs though. I think we're gonna have to opt for track position. Sit this one out, but we already know he can't defend very well. But those softs are not going to go to the end. This is the lap that Flourish is pitting. That's with brand new 100%. down to 89, and bad tire wear is just bad. So we're going to stay out for Gotha. Flourish. 8 seconds. Our second
Now, what
pit stop
exactly
issue
happened there, Karun?
of the season,
The Williams team
of
take
the
their
race.
places.
What a poor start to the season.
But we see the issue occur here.
Do we though? I don't see an issue. Wow. What a nightmare start to the season, huh? Gotha is set to restart from 13th position on 75% used mediums. The front of the field, many of them have that, but around us, Stroll on down, 9th place on down. Pretty much everybody's on brand new something or other. Not a good sign for Gotha on trying to hold off anyone behind us. We only gained 2 positions track-wise, as we were a little bit too far down compared to everybody else. If anything, I probably should have just pit last lap and come out in P18 with 89% soft, so I at least would have had something. But he can't overtake, so it's, what can you do? It's lap 34. The only good thing is that we've got so much spare fuel that we could push all the way to the end of the race, well beyond the first 2 laps here of the restart. But in all likelihood, if we start going backwards and Gotha's already been overtaken by Magnussen on the very first lap, Magnussen's gotten past him. There's no DRS yet. Right now, this places us ahead of a single team, and that is Haas, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, both set to score multiple points today. McLaren as well. So really just the 2 teams out of the points. And DRS is enabled. Gotha has lost Magnussen's wheel, falling back out of DRS range, and that's now made us vulnerable. Piastri with DRS is able to get by, and now we're not even beating a single team. Opportunity to get up the inside there at turn 1, and Gotha just can't do it. We're pushing the fuel anyway, and that's it, and that's not getting us anywhere, and we burn it really fast with that push. I see we had like 3 kilograms. We've gone through 2 kilograms in 4 laps, and we go further back. So in that case, conserve for both. Flourish is now 0.3 of a second behind Gotha. Can she get around him? Certainly doesn't know how to defend, and she's got the softs. Let's see if she could beat her teammate. She's done it before. She's done it in a sprint race on merit largely. There was a minor incident as she stayed ahead. She's never beaten him head-to-head in a race. This would be her first time beating a teammate head-to-head in a race. A teammate who has had no incidents of any kind. No lockups, nothing. She's up alongside him, but she's not able to complete the overtake. Again, she has a look. This time, Gotha gets a successful block in. Here she comes around the final corner and down the straight. Gotha gets the DRS. She was behind at the detection zone, I thought. She was alongside, but behind. Short end of the stick on that one. Looked like she had the move on and that she was going to get DRS and able to complete it. And instead, she's going to have to reset and try again. But she's already gotten ahead in the first zone. But second zone, there you go. There's your detection right there. She is behind. She should be the one with DRS. And look who's getting it. There's a detection marker right there. Right there. It's right there on the mini-map. It's right at the end of the zone. That's what that line is for. There's 2 other markers. Each one has their own marker. She's going to complete the overtake here on her own. Nice. Leclerc likely to win again unless Verstappen can get by in the last 3 laps. They are battling it out actually well ahead of Tsunoda and then Gasly. Big gaps there as we begin the final lap. Gota has gotten back ahead of Florsch and pulled away a little bit here. She's down to 37%, so no longer an advantage. And we're going to finish P17, P18. This is the exact opposite of what you would want. We're going to at least give it another race on Gota before we pull the trigger. But him finishing 1.5 seconds ahead of Florsch, not the result we were looking for from Gota. Gota should have been a lot more competitive than this. Verstappen ended up taking the win away from Leclerc there at the end. Tsunoda does round out the podium, so McLaren is scoring podiums once again this year, but not with Norris, who's now at Mercedes, but Tsunoda. Florsch, 0.4 of a second behind Gota. Ava Moore levels up, a 50 overall. I think we'll hang on to her as close as the gap is to the other engineer, but with a significant boost for the other one, I think we will be making that move sooner rather than later. Red Bull with a single point lead after 2 races in the Constructors, and we are a dreadful last place so far. Gota is showing no sign of being any better than Florsch at this point, or just, mere seconds ahead at all, because the reactions and the overtaking attributes and the smoothness. So the combination of those 3, he's got some good attributes, but those 3 attributes are so poor that Gota is not doing anything.
It's wonderful to be back down under for the Australian Grand Prix. There may be several street circuits on the F1 calendar, but this unique lakeside layout is like none other. High-speed sections snake through the heart of Albert Park, just a few hundred meters from St Kilda's beach. Albert Park is a deceptively easy track to learn, but it's just as easy to make a mistake around its walled sections and gravel traps. The street circuit is high downforce and just as heavy on brakes as it is on tyres. The fans here in Melbourne are all set, as are the drivers, heading into 58 laps around Albert Park. The Williams driver, their attention purely on the race now.
They'll be a bit frustrated to start in P18, but if they nail their race strategy, who knows what they can pull off.
Here we go. It's time to go racing. Get ready for the Australian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Third attempt of the year. Gota qualified P12 today, Florsch qualified P18, but both of them slow reactions, a little slow off the line. We're going to go really aggressive with Gota. Florsch has a typical strategy of a one-stopper, a medium to hard strategy, but Gota, we're going to go for a 2-stopper and push. That ultimately is faster than a one-stopper where you're driving conservatively, but you have to be able to make forward progress, and that just does not seem like something we're doing terribly well. Most of that field is on the mediums, but that undercut is where that chance begins. We'll pit when we need to pit. Gota, we're going to try to go forward as best we can, knowing that a 2-stopper is going to be very much not the norm here. So settling in, 14th and 19th, both of them going backwards a little bit. Gota, we're going to push frequently, but can't push the whole time. It's okay if we end up pitting a little earlier because we were set to push on the final 2 stints and not necessarily on the first. If we can get around Gasly. Can we get around Gasly? No, of course, Stroll's going to pass us instead. I don't know what Stroll's doing way back here in an Aston Martin, but the top 6 have really pulled away from the rest of the pack. There's 3 dominant teams this year for sure. We should be the 4th one, though, and we're not. Midfield's definitely off that pace behind, and we should be getting that best of the rest 7th place, at least occasionally, but Ollie's just not performing well at all. We put him out there on softs, we go aggressive, and he still goes backwards. First car all day to hit pit road, and 2 others have gone with us. A McLaren and an AlphaTauri. Finally, we have a decent stop. 2.564 for Gotha. And we now have some clean air, but it's the hard compound. What sort of pace can we expect on that? Probably not the greatest. Flourish on pit road for what's supposed to be her only stop of the day, and for now we are going to stick with that plan. Good stop for her. 2.475, her best of the season so far. And a very good stop by just about any standards. Now, we have not pushed hard yet. We're going to start pushing hard now with Gotha. But Gotha's 19th and Flourish's 20th for now. But a lot of drivers have yet to pit. Very few have already gone. Gio's at 28% on softs. That's got to be hurting his pace. Yeah, very few have pit so far. With the early pit, but on hards, the pace is only so good. And we've been able to move ahead of some cars, but we have another pit stop coming. And some of these cars, or many of these cars, are going to be on one-stop strategies. And so they are done. We're going to need a lot more than just to be a handful of seconds ahead of them. Piastri is somebody who came out ahead of us, pulled away, but we've now come back at him. But I'm just not sure that this is going to really be enough. I mean, he's got to pit again, so at least we're on par there. And a lot of these guys still need to pit ahead of us. He's 4 cars ahead of us. We'll be on the mediums at least. But are these guys going to make it on softs from here? Not sure. I mean, we're going to be on mediums soon. So actually a lot of them are going to need to pit again. So actually this might just about work out for us. As we get around Piastri up into P10. Flourish might be the only one going on this one-stopper strategy. She could end up ahead of a few cars anyway by the time they pit, but the hards are clearly a slower compound, and you have to push pretty hard to get anything out of them. Used hards aren't great for your pace, and so we get re-overtaken. But pitting very soon, in fact, soon enough that we can really go attack here. But we don't stand to exactly gain anything other than getting some clean air by pitting. Piastri ahead of us is at 37%. That's not going to be good pace. Finally, Piastri peels out of the way. Pourchaire takes over the position, and we're going to get beyond and get a little tow here for a couple laps from Pourchaire. Pourchaire, Aston Martin, much faster, 50% hards. We're at a major disadvantage, but DRS and enough DRS sections around here might just keep us within range for a little while for Pourchaire. I don't know if we have an extra set of softs to go to, but if we extend that little bit, we might just make it. But we just fell out of DRS range, so we need to pit now. Going backwards and being behind slower cars isn't going to be great. We do have a set of softs. We went 18 laps before. Okay, we're going to go back to the softs instead of the mediums. So Gotha, instead of mediums, we're going to go softs to get us to the end of the race. We extended by a couple of laps, and there wasn't that big of a gap between the two, and that's a 2.652. It's not a great stop, but it's not a terrible stop. We're going to come out just ahead of Piastri, who just pit, and Piastri is probably not on softs. No, he is on softs, but ours are new. We're at least ahead of him. Ahead of us, Gio looks like he's going to have to pit. Magnussen's going to have to pit. Albon's going to have to pit. Gasly's a maybe. Maloney's a maybe. Plenty of guys on the top 10 are going to have to pit, but I doubt we've closed up enough to do anything with them. We're going to have a lot of overtakes to make, which we just aren't going to be able to make. And we get passed while pushing. This is where you really want to get an overtake done, as we've been swapping back and forth with Piastri. But if you can get ahead now, just as we're entering DRS range, the prime spot to be in is P2. Gio ahead is on the used stuff, the slow stuff, and we've been closing him down pretty rapidly. with the two of us on softs are, the challengers trying to go forward, and third wheel is not a good place, and we're still third wheel. We never did get past him. It's 11 seconds to Geo, so it's going to take others pitting for us to move forward any further than possibly P17 and only beating the Haas team today, which would be another nail in the coffin of Gota if he's had that kind of pace to be P10 and is going to be this far down. Of course, that's because a lot of teams are going to be opting for a one-stop strategy. Not many are going for the Boulder two-stop, and it's clearly not working out at this point. But we're now caught behind Geo, who's using Piastri to block for us, and we're not able to get past either one of them at this rate. Pushing on, we've finally got up alongside. It's actually Piastri going backwards. There we go. We're up into that second position. If we can get around now, off we can go. It's very short DRS sectors, and we are just so poor at overtaking that here we are again, nearly going backwards. When I picked Gota, I picked it because he had low aggression and good control, figuring that combination would mean, overtaking would be a little harder, but he would make less mistakes. And that would save us money in the long term by not having damage to the car. But he just straight up can't overtake. He does not know how to go around a vehicle ahead of him at all. He doesn't have a flippin' clue what he's doing. We're going to back off. We're going to conserve. We're going to harvest. It's going to take all three things combined to get around a slow car with high tire deg on a slower compound to begin with, in a much slower car, the slowest car, versus what should be the fastest car. Nobody else pit. They're all making the one-stopper work, and on soft mediums. None of them are doing the medium hard like Flourish. So that hurt her pace a little bit more than the others. Now, we still technically have one lap to go here. I'd like to get around Piastri. I'd really like to get around Piastri, but Gota is completely incapable. We've had such huge advantages and been unable to do something that we do finally overtake Piastri. Gio's 5 seconds behind. Flourish ended up getting lapped right at the end on the final lap. She got blue flagged a corner or two from the finish.
He's taken the win.
I guess it saves some engine wear, but it's not a good showing. Another poor showing, just P17. A lot to think about. I know that he's got a weak engineer, that they don't have a good relationship yet, but it's not like he's making mistakes from lack of confidence. He just straight up cannot overtake other cars. We have
What a dreadful
great
day it ended up being
top
for the
speed,
Williams driver.
but we don't have acceleration.
I don't
And the funny
think
thing
many
is the
would have
upgrades you
expected
do,
to see them finishing
very
outside
little.
the top 10. They'll be aiming much higher than that, I assure.
The upgrades do next to nothing to help the acceleration. And the engine that we have just doesn't have the greatest pace on its own. Top speed is number one. Our drag reduction is top. And yet we still can't get the acceleration piece. They're not locked in on each other like they were. We had a slow car to begin with. We had the worst acceleration to begin with. And all that drag reduction improvements have taken us from last to first in top speed, but it's taken us from last to mid-pack, acceleration only. It just doesn't improve in the same manner, and that's hurt, especially now. I think we're going to have to find another driver who's got better reactions and might be able to be capable of overtaking other cars. I don't know. The cornering, braking are good, but he just has no pace when you add in our car's weakness being the same weakness that he has. including that he doesn't know how to overtake. And that triple combination is a total death sentence for him. And I think we're going to need to find a new driver pretty damn soon. 1-2 for Red Bull, a 3-4 for Ferrari, and a 5-6 for Mercedes. This is the highest we've seen them in the entire series. Aston Martin was next best. Top 4 teams are pretty damn clear, and we are just sucking right now. Gota actually dropped a position. He's now 18th, and we're already at 13 drivers that have managed to score points, including Alfa Romeo, who had 0 points all last season, already have one at the early phase of this year. This is going very poorly. It's down to us and Haas, 9 and 10, and we're still 10 for now. I think we might need a better driver. The car is very capable, but that triple death sentence thing is absolutely brutal on what it's doing to Gota. And we tried to counter it these last couple races to no avail. He's actually looking worse than he was in that first race. And if we're going to compete with the AlphaTauris and the Alfa Romeos and actually beat Haas, as opposed to just compete with them, if we're going to get that P7, I do think it might take a driver who doesn't have quite the glaring issues that he has. Likely moves coming. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.